All right, guys. Hello, hello. Welcome to Wednesday of a short week. Got to be super excited about that. Almost spring break, and it's supposed to be gorgeous weather. You might hear my baby crying in the background. That's kind of fun. All right. But I want to review a couple stuff with you guys before we start with the new things, okay? Gregor Mendel is basically the father of genetics, okay? And how he became the father of genetics is that he was a gardener at his monastery, okay? And one plant that he decided to work with were peas. And part of the reason being is that when he would look at all the pea plants in his garden, he noticed that there was all these differences. Kind of like if you guys look around the classroom, how everybody looks different. Same thing actually happens with plants as well. You can have lots of variety. So he could look at the pods where the peas would be growing, and they can have different colors, different shapes, the placement of the flowers, the different colors of the flowers. And being a true scientist, he thought, well, why is this happening? All right, so he conducted an experiment on every single one of those characteristics. In that last video that you guys watched, I wish I could remember how many pea plants or experiments they said that he did, but it was like thousands. It was insane. Guy had a lot of time on his hands. All right, so um, he started off with the pea generation, which is the parent generation. So he started off with a purple flower and a white flower. And what he did is basically he cross pollinated them. Now, cross pollination is kind of a weird thing, okay? Basically, what he did is that he chopped off the male parts, sorry, gentlemen, to one flower, okay? And then took the pollen, which pollen basically is sperm, all right, which is something to kind of pay attention to this time of year when your car is covered with pollen. You can say, "Hey, mom, but dad, that's tree sperm." They might get mad at you, but it's science, right? Anyway, so if you guys look at this, he took the paintbrush and basically took the pollen from these stamens, which you don't need to know those parts just yet. I know you wrote them down, but just know that he got the pollen, and he put it on the female part of another flower, okay? So flowers actually undergo sexual reproduction. The males produce sperm, the females produce eggs. I mean, this part right here, guys, has an ovary, and every girl sitting in this classroom has ovaries, okay? Kind of cool. So what he had to do is that he had to wait for the results, okay? So the egg gets fertilized by the sperm, it grows, plant the seeds grow, and what he actually found is he found the F1 generation, which are the offspring to the P generation. He found that every single one of those was purple, okay? He let those guys self-pollinate, and he found that the white showed back up, okay? Now, what sucks about being a scientist back in those days is, especially at his time, is he really didn't know how to explain that. Yeah, he came up with all these findings, and with all those characteristics, he found that that was the case for all of them, but he had to explain it. And we didn't know anything about DNA at this time. So if you notice, I had factors in quotations here. So individuals are going to inherit factors from parents, which makes sense. Okay, we had the purple and the white flowers, and you guys get it from your parents. These are some cheesy parents. Okay, they're passed from one generation to the next, okay? And they could be passed along but not show up in the offspring. So the example for that one were the white flowers, okay? Where basically we took a purple and a white flower, but then that offspring that we had right there, every single one of those were purple. So where did the white go, okay? And that happens in us as well, okay? Always happens in us. All right. You can go buy some Gregor Mendel stuff if you would like. And if you guys need to, watch this video again. Okay? So let's talk about Gregor Mendel's findings explained over time. So this is after we knew about DNA and we looked at Mendel's work. And in the video, if you guys remember, they said that really his work was not acknowledged until after he passed away, where we were like, whoa, this dude was on to something. Okay? So let's fill in the rest of our notes. Mendel's explained over time. Okay, so the factor that he was talking about is a gene. Okay, and you guys learned about genes back in protein synthesis. A gene is a part of DNA that codes for a trait. Okay, so a factor is a gene, and it's a part of DNA that codes for a trait. You don't necessarily have to put this down, but an example here is the flower color that we were looking at is a gene. Okay, so it's a part of DNA. We have genes for eye color, genes for hair color, genes for freckles, genes for whether or not you can roll your tongue, okay? Those are all genes, okay? So a factor is a gene, a part of DNA that codes for a trait, okay? The second one is that an allele is two different forms of a gene, okay? An allele is a huge word. When you guys write this down for number 2, put a big square around allele, okay? Box it off if you guys could. Just, I mean, you're going to write down the definition of allele a lot, but I want to make sure that we have it. So an allele is two different forms of a gene, okay? So in this case, if our gene is flower color, our alleles will be purple and white, okay? So just something to kind of think about. So an allele is two different forms of a gene, okay? All right. Last one that we have here, number 3. On average, there are 2 alleles for each trait. Okay, notice I say on average. We have some that are exceptions to that. Okay, on average, we're going to have 2 alleles for each trait. So, for example, flower color, you can have purple, you can have white. For one on us, rolling your tongue. Okay, everybody just try to roll your tongue right now. I wish I could show you what that means, but you can curl it up like a taco. Okay, so the gene is tongue rolling, and the 2 alleles is yes, you can roll your tongue, or no, you can't roll your tongue. Believe it or not, that is genetic. And with Maddie, it's really kind of fun picking out what things she got from me and what things she got from her dad. It's really kind of fun. He's kind of winning. She has a lot of his traits, which makes me very, very, very sad. Although my husband's pretty awesome, but I'm thinking she got my curly hair and my blue eyes, so that's kind of fun. All right, she's got the afro. Yeah. All right. So anyway, I am going random here. Okay. So 2 alleles from each trait. Where do you get them? You get them from mom and you get them from dad. Okay. In the offspring of just those flowers. Yes, flowers, plants have moms and dads. Okay. Dads contribute the sperm, moms contribute the eggs. Move on, Miss Chris. All right. So actually, let me back up. So what we're about to get in right here, okay, is very important that you are listening. So please make sure that you take notes. I'll try to talk slow. And I know this is not the best situation, but it's really important that you guys listen, okay? And I wish I had my face up here in the screen so you could see me looking at you and pointing at you. These next terms are so important because basically it's everything, it's our next 2 units, okay? And usually if kids struggle with these next 2 units, it's because they don't understand these terms, and the terms are not that hard to get. It's just you don't listen, okay? And like I said, I know hearing me talk and staring at a screen is no fun, but we got to be strong, okay? All right, here we go. So we have 2 types of alleles, okay? 2 types of alleles. And your notes are kind of weird here. You can kind of merge them all together. Just write all this down, okay? We can have a dominant allele. Now, I know you guys learned this in middle school. You should have learned this in middle school, so some of this should be review. Dominant allele, notice I put it in all caps, okay? The dominant allele is going to be the express trait. What I mean by that is what you see, okay? And usually, if you have a dominant allele, it's going to show, all right? It's always represented by a capital letter, okay? And it's always going to be first. Now, this always first won't make a whole lot of sense to you, but it will here in a second, okay? So it's the trait that's expressed if it's there. You got a capital letter, and it's always first, okay? An example of this one is my husband has attached earlobes, okay? Attached earlobes, if you guys look around the classroom and look at your neighbors, they're actually earlobes that kind of look like an elf almost, okay? You don't need to see it, you got it. Okay, detached earlobes are basically literally like a lobe that is just kind of hanging out, okay? The detached lobes are actually dominant, and then the ones that make you look like an elf, which if you have them, they're precious. My husband has them. His whole family has them, actually. That's recessive. Well, because I have the dominant allele, when our alleles combined, I totally nixed the elf ears. So Maddie actually has free earlobes, okay? And Zeb was kind of sad about that. He likes his little elf ears. But I nixed out his whole family's characteristic on that one, and actually his grandparents had it as well. Pretty cool. All right, squash that one. Pow. All right. All right, next we got recessive alleles. If you notice, I wrote this in lowercase, okay? Recessive alleles are only expressed if paired with another recessive, okay? Again, guys, this might not make a whole lot of sense, but as you know how I roll, you're going to get a lot of practice with it, and it's very important that you do all of this practice, okay? So it's only expressed if paired with another recessive, okay? And it's basically using lowercase letters, all right? So dominant's capital, dominant, it's dominant, capital, recessive is lowercase, okay? All right. Now, with this dominant recessive, we can refer to, we got vocab in bio. So let's go over more vocabulary, okay? The first one that we have here is something called genotype, okay? Please make sure that you're paying attention, okay? Genotype. All right, genotype is basically going to be the combination of alleles. What I mean by this is basically, do we have a dominant and a recessive? Do we have 2 recessives? What do we have? Now, keep in mind, we have 2, right? The reason why we have 2 is you get one allele from your dad and another allele from your mom. You're a combination of your parents, okay? So in allele letters that code for a trait, it's the genetic makeup, okay? So what alleles do you have? What letters do you have is what we're talking about here with the genotype, okay? So if For example, the genotype, well, we'll get to that here in a second. Okay, the combination of alleles. Do you have dominants, recessives? What do you have? And you always have two. Okay, well, I shouldn't say always, but the majority of the time you have two. Okay, now we have three possible genotypes. Okay, the very first one is something called homozygous dominant. Write this down exactly how you see it, you guys. Exactly how you see it. It's not hard to write it down. It's not a lot to write down. Okay, homozygous dominant. Yes, that's my child still screaming in the background. All right, homo means same. All right, and dominant means capital letters. So homozygous dominant is one type of genotypes. We're looking at what alleles you have. So if you're a homozygous dominant, you have two dominant alleles, okay? Big B, big B. We also refer to this sometimes as a purebred, okay? If I call you a purebred, that means that you got nothing but that dominant in there, okay? Kind of cool stuff, all right? So that is that right there, okay? Second one that we have here is going to be homozygous recessive, okay? Homo means same. Recessive is going to be those lowercase letters, all right? So we're going to have two recessive alleles in this case, all right? Homozygous recessive. So for in this case, it's going to be little b, little b. Make sure you're writing down these examples. And I just picked B for fun. Again, one allele from mom, one allele from dad. You're a combination of your parents, even though, like I said, Madeline looks more like her dad right now than me, which, by the way, let's talk about that really quick. When babies are born, they actually look more like their father than their mother, and that's to make the dad look at the baby and say, that's my baby, and not leave. You know, when you talk about, we're animals, all right? And if you look at how animals kind of function oftentimes, the dad doesn't often stick around, like with mammals out in nature. Kind of cool stuff, okay? That's just a random little side note for you guys, okay? All right, last one is heterozygous, okay? Hetero means different, so heterozygous, okay? So heterozygous, one dominant and one recessive allele, all right? So we're going to have different. I'm going to have one dominant and one recessive. So it's going to be big B and little b, okay? And again, you can use any letter here. It's just important to know that, you know, an example. Now remember I said that if I have one dominant allele, that one always goes first. Okay, so one dominant and one recessive allele, that is heterozygous. Okay, so again, we have homodominant, two dominant alleles. We have homorecessive, two recessive alleles. And we have heterozygous, one dominant and one recessive. Okay, those are my three possible genotypes. You've got to know those because we're going to, on tomorrow, if I say heterozygous, you got to pow, you got to know what that is. Okay, all right. Phenotypes, all right? Phenotypes is basically going to be the physical expression of that trait. What I mean by that is, what do you see? When I have those two alleles together, what trait is actually shown, okay? So it's the physical expression of a trait, the observable characteristic, or the physical appearance, okay? Now I love this picture here because here for genotype, they're basically showing you the chromosomes with the genes on them. And then this is what it looks like. Okay, kind of like what I was talking about the earlobe example with me and my husband and Madeline. Okay, when I say that she has free earlobes, that is basically going to be her phenotype. Okay, what eye colors you see, that is your phenotype. If you look around the room, you guys can see everybody's phenotypes. Okay, you can see their hair color, their eye color, their skin color, whether or not they roll their tongue, their earlobes. Okay, phenotype. Genotypes are harder to see. That's the genetics, okay? You don't oftentimes know what alleles they have, okay? All right. So let's practice a little bit, okay? And I don't even know if you guys have this in your notes, but let's just look at this together. So I made this up, okay? I have capital B here. Capital B is a big nose, okay? And the little b is a small nose, all right? Made this up. So this is the dominant and this is the recessive. Goodness, she is screaming. So what would be the phenotype for the following? Okay, so what I have right here is I have big B, big B. What phenotype would be for that one right there? And that is basically going to be, because all you gotta have, I'm sorry, I can't focus with my baby screaming. Okay, I'm back, focus. All right, it's tough being a mama. All right, so if I just have one dominant allele, that trait's going to show. Here I have two. So if I have big B, what phenotype would it be? What characteristic are you going to see? That one's going to be a big nose. Okay, so that's a big nose. All right, let's look at this one right here. I have big B, little b. What do you think that would be? Am I going to have a big nose or a small nose in that one? Okay, remember what I said. If I just have one dominant allele right here, then that means that that's going to show. That overpowers that one. This is what I did to the earlobes, okay? As I said, pow, take that, attach your earlobes, you're not going to show. So this one right here is going to be big nose, okay? Now C, two little b's right here. If I have two little b's, this is the only time that you're going to get this trait right here. So little b, the phenotype would be a small nose, okay? So again, it's just kind of putting pieces of the puzzle together, and we're going to have more practice with it, okay? All right, so genotypes, all right, let's practice with this one. So what genotype is this one right here? Now remember, I have three genotypes. I can have homozygous dominant, I can have homorecessive, or I can have heterozygous. So here I have two dominant alleles. They're the same, so that's homo. They're both dominant, so that's homodominant, okay? What would be this genotype right here? I have one dominant, one recessive. They're different. So this one would be, say it out loud, I hope, heterozygous, okay? This one right here, what would it be? I have the same. I have two recessive, so that is homorecessive. And you guys can abbreviate, that's fine. So for genotypes again, homodominant, heterozygous, and homorecessive, okay? All right, so you guys have this in your notes right here. You're going to kind of work through this, okay? What I'm asking for here, and I'm going to do this first one with you, is the genotype and phenotype using this key right up there, okay? So let's look at this first one right here. I have big G, little g, all right? Here I'm asking genotype. Now look at your notes for genotype. For genotype, you're going to put down one of three things. You're going to put homodominant, you're going to put heterozygous, or homorecessive. So this one right here, what genotype is that one? Which one of those three? They're different. Okay, say it out loud. Heterozygous. Very good. So you guys can put down hetero right here. Hetero. Okay. The phenotype for this one, phenotype again is when you use this key right up here. So for this one, the big G and the little g, what trait do I have? We're going to look at this one right here. What physical appearance are you going to have? Now look, I got one dominant allele. Okay, I got one dominant allele. So therefore, it's going to be green hair. Okay, good job. So here you should have heterozygous, and here you should have green hair. Okay? All right, let's hop down to these weird ones right here, okay? If you take a look at this one, if you notice, mark it out. Don't give me the genotype, okay, because it'd be two different ones. But when you give me the phenotype, take it one at a time. So let's look at the G's, okay? We just actually did this one. So big G, little g, what phenotype would that be? That's green hair, so just put green hair, okay? And look at this second one right here, big H, okay? Look over here, what would be big H? Hairy ears. So this is a very good looking individual. Green hair and hairy ears. Okay? So I want you guys to take a few to work through this. Miss Hartsock, if you can hit pause on the video, and we'll go over the answers together with each other. Okay? Thanks. Pause. All right. So let's go over the answers. All right, this one right here. Okay, little g, the genotype. Shout it out loud. Shout it out. Okay, genotype there is going to be homorecessive. Very good if that's what you said. Okay, I'm trying to make it interactive here. I'm trying. All right, had a request to try to do that. It's difficult. All right, so little g, what phenotype would that be? Okay, that one's going to be purple hair. Very good. So here we have homorecessive, and here we have purple hair. Good. Let's go to this H. Okay, big H, what genotype is that? Genotype, that's homodominant. Very good. Okay, what phenotype did you guys get? Shout it out. Hairy ears. Very good. Okay, let's hop to this one right here. Right over here, what would be my phenotype? You guys should have gotten what? Green hair and smooth ears. Okay, green hair and smooth ears. This can actually be kind of fun if you get the hang of it, because once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy. Okay, hop over to this side, big G. What genotype do we have? Okay, that is, say it out loud, homodominant, very good. What phenotype do we have? Green hair, very good. Big H, little h, my genotype is going to be what? Shout, shout. Heterozygous, very good. My phenotype, say it out loud, hairy ears, very good if you're saying it. I hope you are. It'd be kind of funny if I'm sitting here talking to myself, which I am doing right now, okay? Little h, what is my genotype? Okay, it's going to be homorecessive. Very good. My phenotype is going to be what? Smooth ears. Very good. Okay, right down here, right? What would be my genotype? Now, I had you guys do it for this one. Okay, they're all lowercase. All right, so that's going to be homorecessive. Very good. All right, and what would be my phenotype? How about purple hair and smooth ears? Okay, good job. And this last one here, if you notice, both are different. Boop, boop, boop. So shout it out loud. What'd you guys get here? That's heterozygous, and my phenotype is going to be green hair and hairy ears. Okay, hope you guys got that. All right, and if not, if you guys are struggling with it, I'm sure somebody in class kind of picked up on it. You can talk to Miss Hartsock. You can talk to a class member. You can also talk to Miss Witzenberg if you need to during +1. Okay, she can definitely help you out. Okay. All right, so we are going to do a lab that I call the Ugly Baby Lab. Okay. And actually, it's called the Genetics of Parenthood. It's really a pretty fun lab. Okay. So, Ms. Hartsock, if you can, I don't know if you guys have these in the baskets. They might be there. I don't know. But if you can pass out all these papers so they can follow along with me, or if they're in your basket, go ahead and grab them. Okay, you have a data sheet and then you have this packet. Okay, let's go ahead and grab those. And Ms. Hartsock, if you need to pass those out, you can just hit pause on the video. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do here is that you guys are going to make babies, okay? Now, if you guys just read the directions, it tells you pretty much everything that you need to do. Everything, okay? But I'm going to get you started on this, okay? All right, so right up here, you have the thing that says sex of the offspring, okay? You guys should also have 2 pennies in the basket in front of you, okay? So everybody grab a penny. If you don't have pennies, if you could hit pause again, and we will, hit pause until everybody gets pennies, okay? All right. All right, so we got our pennies. So what we're going to do here is that we are going to together flip for the sex of your offspring, okay? So what I want you and your partners to do is grab your coin, flip it, okay? And just leave it on your desk. So both of you guys go ahead and flip your coin. Flip, 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 flip your coin. All right, and leave it on your desk. Okay. All right, so hopefully we're there. If you guys have 2 heads or 2 tails, okay? If you have 2 heads or 2 tails on your desk with your coins, you are the proud parents of a sweet baby girl, okay? A very sweet, sweet, sweet baby girl. Very sweet baby girl, okay? I was going to show you a picture of mine, but I'll spare you guys, okay? So for sex of the offspring, put down girl, all right? All right, if you have a heads and a tails, you are the proud parents of a sweet baby boy, okay? So right up here, you can just put male or female. You could put boy or girl. It doesn't really matter, okay? Sound good? All right, so now what we're going to do is that we're going to flip for the traits of your offspring, your babies. Now, I know that some of you guys are 2 girls, 2 guys. It doesn't matter, okay? We're just looking at what you flip for the coin, so don't get crazy on it, okay? All right, and again, the directions are all right here. If you have no idea what's going on, everybody in here can read. Read these directions, okay? Please, 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 okay? All right, so let's go ahead and grab our data sheets and let's flip, okay? So everybody flip your coin again. Do a little flip, 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 okay? All right, so Ms. Hartsock, if you can leave this slide up on the PowerPoint, that would be awesome. Okay, up on the PowerPoint, up on the board so you guys can reference this, okay? So if you guys flipped, all right, if you have a heads, heads is going to be the dominant allele, okay? If you have tails, tails is going to be the recessive allele, all right? So what we're going to have right here is you're going to look at this sheet right here, okay? So if you had 2 heads, you're going to have big A, okay? If you had a heads and a tails, you're going to have big A, little a. If you had 2 tails, you got little a, little a. Does that make sense? Okay, so again, the PowerPoint right here. Actually, you don't even have the PowerPoint. You're showing a video, Miss Hartsock. I'm so crazy, okay? Actually, when the lab is done, when the video is done, you can just pause right here and show that. Sorry, I'm crazy. All right. So heads is the dominant allele, tails is the recessive allele. Okay, so pick which one you have. If you have 2 tails, again, you got little a, little a. If you got a heads and a tails, you're heterozygous. If you have 2 heads, you are homodominant. Okay, so on your sheet right here where it says genotype symbols, go ahead and put that down. Okay, do you have big A, big A, big A, little a, little a, little a? Make sense? Okay, and actually, guys, you got that? All right, hop over here where it says genotype, you're going to identify that genotype, okay? So if it's big A, what you would write right here is homodominant, okay? If you had big A, that would be heterozygous. If you had little a, that would be homorecessive, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So whatever symbol we have here, you're going to identify that genotype. Now when you have phenotype, what you guys got to do here is you're going to go back to this data sheet right here, and you're going to put down what kind of face shape you have, okay? And actually she has the head tails there. We got all this stuff there for you guys to help you out, okay? So if you have these two guys right here, basically you're going to have a round face shape or you're going to have a square face shape, okay? And that's what you're going to write down for phenotype. You're going to put round or square, okay? Does that kind of make sense? So you're going to keep cruising on down, okay? You got a lot of flipping to do. Look at all that flipping you got to do, okay? All right, now a couple things I want to point out to you. All right, is your skin color, okay? You guys got to read this direction right here to tell you exactly how to do that one, okay? So first you got to toss the coin 3 times. Third coin toss, yeah, it looks like that, okay? So you got to toss the coin 3 times, okay? And that'll tell you what to do there. The key thing here, guys, is you got to start taking ownership for your learning and reading, okay? You got to read. Everybody in here is very bright, okay? But sometimes we have a tendency to be a little lazy and lazy, okay? So please read. This is very self-explanatory, okay? And again, you can read what's happening there. All right, so once you guys are done determining all of your traits right here, you guys should also have a white piece of paper in the basket in front of you, okay? On that white piece of paper, you and your partner are going to draw the baby. Please do not draw on anything else but a white piece of paper that is provided for you, okay? Make sure that you draw the face big. I want a big face, okay? And basically, you're going to draw all these traits right there. You should also have some colored pencils and some markers, okay? Make sure that you add some color to it because eye color and all that stuff's a part of it as well, okay? All right, so one other last thing to point out to you guys is when this is due. Okay, when this is due. Let me hop to the wiki. Okay, now when this is due is that you got the rest of today to work on it, but you got a lot of time, and I did that on purpose, so you'd have some time to work on it. You can work on it tonight for homework. If you notice, you also have questions here to answer. Very important that you answer all of those, okay? And this is actually going to be due Thursday before you leave for spring break. You are not taking these babies home with you, okay? So get them done and turn them in. Now expect a little bit of effort. No offense, guys. I've seen some of the drawings that you've been doing, and it looks like you took 5 minutes to do it. Not cool. All right. So I expect a little bit of effort. I am seeing what you guys are doing. All right. So a little bit of effort. Make me proud, please. Okay. I feel like I had one more thing to say to you guys. Oh, when you guys turn this in, obviously you're only making one drawing. Make sure on your baby's drawing that you put both of your names on it, both parents' names, okay? And just staple it to one data sheet, okay? If I see who worked together on the baby, then obviously that'll make sense to me, okay? But I expect both of you to turn this in. This is not one of these per group. It doesn't work that way, okay? Sound good? All right, guys. Hope all is well. You are going to have another video for me tomorrow. We're going to talk about monohybrid crosses. It's a big, huge thing. And then that's that, okay? Keep being smart. Keep working hard. Get your work done. And I'll talk to you guys soon, okay? Bye-bye.